r/AskReddit. What's something you can't describe in a way that would do it justice? How I want my hair to be cut. For the past 25 years I've been getting my hair cut once a month. So out of around 300 haircuts, I've been happy maybe 7 times. Do you change barbers every time or something? You are allowed to talk to them, right? I've been going to the same guy for years, never walked out unhappy, ever. In my country it is extremely rude to talk to them, taboo to make eye contact. I was once mowing a commercial property after it rained, and my passing by on the mower kicked up all sorts of insects. A group of swallows must have seen it happening, and I was suddenly surrounded by birds swooping majestically and catching bugs what felt like inches from my face for about 20 minutes. I've never felt anything quite like it either before or since, and it's one of my favorite memories. Dreams. Yes, my husband hates when I attempt to explain a dream because they are so fluid and nonsensical, but I love that about dreams. Then when they attempt a dream sequence in TV and movies I'm always irritated because they are so linear and make way too much sense. Who has dreams like that? I definitely have dreams like that. My dreams can be very detailed and have an entire storyline. I have dreams that are like episodes of a TV show. Sometimes I'm me, sometimes I'm someone else, sometimes I'm not even a character, I'm just watching, and when it's one of those crazy vivid ones I'll remember them completely for years. How great it is to be financially secure, and by that I mean I'm 2 paychecks away from being broke. Going from 1 to 2 is a great relief. It's like a weight I've had on all my life is gone. Some say money can't buy you happiness, perhaps true, but financial security can allow you to feel happy because you can cast off a whole bunch of anxiety. I remember a specific time when I finally began earning a good living. I had cash in the bank. I had no specific plans to buy or do anything, but I felt like I had options. That was pretty freeing. A friend of mine has truly wealthy parents. Completely self-made too. They started out as 2 broke college kids and struggled well into their 30s before the business they started together really took off. We were all down at their lake house for New Year's a few years back, and after a few bourbons, I asked her dad if he was fundamentally happier now as a rich man than he was before. He told me money can't buy you happiness. If you're a fundamentally miserable person, no amount of money will fix that. But if you're looking for happiness, money does buy you a measure of security and leverage, which makes it a whole lot easier to find. How good it feels to nail a vocal harmony with another person. My husband and I once hummed the exact note of the microwave at the same time, and we've never been able to do it again since. It was the most accomplished I've ever felt. This is a good one. There's that buzz that happens when you get it exactly right. I feel like there is a name for it. I learned in high school, but it's been 15 years since I took a music class. Nailing it with a lot of people is great too. At some point additional tones that no one is even singing start to layer on. I miss singing with people. The feeling of finally having found your person in the world. The feeling when that person decides to give up on the marriage and leave indefinitely. Shock and terror don't begin to describe. Reminds me of when I found my person in the world and a year later it was just suddenly taken away. One time we were sitting on the porch and just looked at each other and both started crying at the same time without talking because we were overwhelmed by how much we loved each other. He died unexpectedly and I can't explain those feelings to anyone. Again, shock and terror don't even begin to describe. 5 years later, and I'm still in love with someone who doesn't exist anymore. A total eclipse. Listening to birds and all the animals get progressively louder, as if panicking, then suddenly fall silent as the moon covers the sun, then start to pick up again, as if it were morning, once the first sliver starts to show. There's also this surreal darkness and stillness to everything. It's absolutely gorgeous to see the corona around it. I would love to see another. Came to post this. There's simply nothing, no words, no pictures, no video that can do it justice. We don't have the technology yet to reproduce that kind of dynamic range of light and dark faithfully. It's an unbelievable experience, the blazing white yet somehow angel feather delicate wisps of the corona surrounding the most indescribably black pit. A circle so pitch black it feels like it's pulling the world into it, and looking at it almost gives you vertigo, as if you were somehow going to fall into the sky. If I were a Bronze Age farmer I would absolutely believe the world was ending if I saw an eclipse. Doing stand-up comedy and absolutely killing. Conversely, doing stand-up comedy and bombing miserably. Did a bunch of open mic. I'm from like 23, 28ish, and you're absolutely right. There's no way to describe the feeling of trying to make a room full of people laugh, and just seeing a sea of expressionless faces. 10 good sets can be immediately erased by one horrible set. This doesn't apply as much, but I did theater for about 4 years, and the scandalous, almost nerve-wracking feeling of nervousness and anxiety before every show were there on almost every play. Not to mention that when you're in the stage and you have to look at the crowd, you can really inspect their faces carefully and see if they are enjoying it or not. Also, you can tell whether or not they liked it or not, seeing as how they applaud you in the end. People might be a bit more considerate when watching plays, but not so much with comedians. Psychedelics. It's weird how sometimes I forget what it's like if it's been a long time, and then the dose takes effect and time dilates and contracts, and then I remember what it's like again. And then 12 hours later you find a clock and do the math and realize it's only been 45 minutes. That's the weirdest part. You've lived 4 days and it's been 8 hours. Depression. Unless you have experienced it, you won't know what it's like. Consider this. Everyone knows what happiness is like. Imagine trying to explain what that feels like to a person who has never experienced being happy. It can be frustrating when people think I'm overreacting, or that it can't really be all that bad. But at the same time I'm glad they can't relate. Being depressed is like it snows every day. Some days you brush off your car and drive to work. Some days you have to shovel your driveway. Some days you do all that and are terrified driving to and from work. Other days you realize it's just snowing too much and you just decide to not leave the house. Occasionally you get snowed in for weeks on end and your front door is barricaded shut, and no matter how much you try you can't leave even if you try. That's the best way I've ever heard to describe it. The sadness that comes from realizing a deceased loved one will never go on now, since they got halted in their tracks and are slowly fading into oblivion while you linger. It's a mixture of feeling sorry for them intensely and also for yourself. Almost 3 years since I lost my best friend. I can't tell her I'm married now and living in her home, taking care of it, but I hope she knows somehow. I miss her terribly still, and I refuse to let her fade into oblivion. As long as I live, she'll always be in my memory. My dad's been gone 20 years now. He was a huge part of my life. It's so weird to me that, since he's been gone, I've gone on and lived this whole other life, got married, bought a home, had children, etc. that he's not been a part of at all. I've talked about this before on Reddit, but once I was having sex with my girlfriend after taking a shower, and I had water stuck in my ear. At the exact same time as I came my ear popped, and I felt washed over by such a bizarre and amazing combination of sensations. It's really hard to describe how good this orgasm felt, truly ineffable. I've tried many times since then to replicate this, but have not been successful so far. What do you mean your kink is having water dropped into your ear before sex? How much I love my cat. People make fun of me RN because my 18Y/O girl isn't eating or drinking as much lately, so I took her to the vet and they pretty much told me it's her time and offered to put her down. It's made me an absolute wreck of me, and they still say it's just a cat, or get another one tbh it hurts. They all have their family or a so or both, and it just sucks that there's no compassion, because she's really is all I have. 18. She's been holding on so long, because she loves you, and doesn't want to leave you. That's true love and FCK those other people. That's pure, unselfish love right there. DPDR. Depersonalization / the Realisation Disorder. It is just real fucking weird. I would describe the realization as being 100% certain that I'm a character in a video game. I have heard others describe it that way too. I don't really ever have hallucinations or feelings quite like that. More like my brain and my eyes don't agree. I have my eyes open, but I feel like I'm blind. Like there is this serious disconnect. See, it is super weird to explain. Like you're watching through a VR headset. You're playing a video game in first person. Everything around you exists, but you can wake up at any moment. It's like dreaming, waking up, and being in a 12 to 14 hour long dream before going to sleep again. I think it should be noted that I genuinely felt, while microdosing shrooms, that for the first time in my entire life, everything around me felt real. Hearing your baby say I love you, dad for the first time, while his tired little body is hugging you with all his might, as you put him to sleep for the night. Hearing that first whole spontaneous "I Wub You" from your kid is an indescribable feeling. Your whole chest hurts to the point of bursting with joy and love and warmth. My kid said it for the first time while he was sitting on the toilet, so I also burst out laughing at the juxtaposition. It was such an important moment for me as a mom, and it happened while he was sitting on a potty.